right, so City of Indio. So these are for the median monuments. Got 5 of these big bad boys, as you can see. Kind of a tall boy here. So technically they're monument signs, but they're looking more like a pylon, pole-mounted thing. I'm calling them the chevrons. That's what we're calling them, the Chevys. So they kind of mount like so. They go in the medians like that, downtown, different places, different locations. So they'll be stuck in the dirt there. And, you know, going forward, that's how it is. So I'm going to show you how I got them all laid out, show you how to get them built and all that. So let's get after it. So let's do the lay of the land first and foremost. So it's kind of going along the way of what we talked about with the 23 or the 26 or whatever emergency signs. Kind of let's do a tester first before we burn off, because there's going to be 25 of these chevrons. So let's not do 25 mistakes. So first and foremost, 090, we're going to do a route first of basically an I. So the main thing is I want to dial these in for you guys. So that way, instead of having 4 separate pieces and having a weld there, if I can get this dialed in for you cats, then you can just do bend, 2 welds. It'll be stronger that way, less bondo, all that. So if we can get that dialed in, and we can make sure the frame's good, because the frame will be the same pretty much on all of them. So if we can get this frame dialed in, make sure there's no mistakes here. And then I'll go ahead and just give you a backer. You don't have to actually make the eye, but we'll just send the backer to make sure holes all line up. So if we can get this to route first, I know, you know, Jose doesn't watch these because it just still makes me sad. And then same thing with the backer. So these backers are going to be 1/8" aluminum. So I'd like to see you get at least one routed to make sure that that fits this tester and make sure everything lines up perfectly. And once we know everything's good, then we can proceed. So that being said, what I did is I went ahead and then backed out one eye. So that way there'll be there's 25 total of these chevrons. So that way I backed out one of the eyes. So that'll leave, instead of 10, that'll leave 9, and that'll leave 24 total chevrons. So you'll have 5 O's, 5 D's, 5 N's, and technically 10 eyes. But if we do this one first, we should be good to go. So I went ahead and backed that out. And then also with this here, so again, I'm doing this because, you know, I got Jose's back, but basically if you go ahead and nest all of these, but based on this tester, so the whole idea is that you can go ahead and nest everything, but go ahead and do this one separately, and if you do this one basically separately on its own sheet and don't nest these into everything else, then if I have to change this, then we can blow this up real easy. So I kind of want this on its own .rou file. That way, if the Chevy test shows that I got to adjust it a 32nd or something, then it'll be easy. That you don't have to go through and dig these out wherever you have them nested. So toolpath these separately. So you got the Chevy faces. These should be fine. Really, there isn't anything wrong with those. So you could go ahead and nest all this up. So that way you can get an idea of how much material you'll need. It's just that, you know, nest this one first. But when it comes time for the frames, you can go ahead and nest all this, 24 sets, and you can go ahead and do the bottom cabinets. So the rest of this stuff doesn't really need a tester. Everything should be fine. Again, you can see where I backed out one of the eyes because we already have it. So, so you can go ahead and just nest all this as one big, but again, just keeping this separate. So anyway, so the bottom cabinets, you're going to have your kind of return. It'll just be a front jiggy with like a either Lord's Inn kind of back thing. I'll show you what's up. We've done this before. And then you'll have your bottom cabinets, and they actually have different copy. So you'll have your letter backers for the regular channel letters, but we're going to weld them up. And then we have our power vaults. So we want to make sure we get all these guys. There's going to be 5 of those total set. Everything is one. And we have the backers. So we're going 1/8" backer. And again, I backed out one here for the eye, but you can go ahead and nest all of this, and that'll include the tester. So, and then we've got ourselves a bunch of little stubby little guys, a lot of little tabs for the reverse channel glow. And we have our whites, the inserts there, plus the whites for the cabinets, for the little bottom cabinets. That's 063. And we have 3/4 inch pushies. That's for the bottom cabinets. And we have the pushy backers. So get all that to first shop as soon as it comes out. And then we have a bunch of clear tough act. We got the 3/16. That's going to be for the reverse glow. And we have our usual 3/16 wide acrylic. That will get that digital print on the front, and then you're going to be trim capping, and then I believe then it goes to paint. So keep that in mind. Got a lot of trim cap, 25 letters. So other than the sheer number of things, as always, the cabinets and everything else you've been making, I think this isn't going to be nearly as bad. There's just a lot of it, but it's going to be sort of coasty for you, I think. So it's going to be a lot easier than all the stuff you've been cranking on. So just some of the things I want to point out. So kind of, if you saw what it's going to be a steel post, and it's going to have a bunch of holes in it. And then install is just going to frap with those self-tapper big boy 3/8 into the steel. That's going to hold the chevron onto the back or onto the steel pole. And then on the back side, you're going to come in with 5/16 riv nuts. That's going to actually nail down this frame. So you're going to, on the back side of this frame, you're going to have 6 5/16 steel riv nuts, and then install is just going to put that whole thing. So essentially it's going to be making a bunch of these frames. You're going to make 25 of these frames. These are universal, other than the bottoms need to be face forward. That way the hole that is set up for the power in is towards the top, so you won't see it. Because this frame is 5.5 and the return on these guys is 4. So that gives us our 1.5 inches. So keep this to the face and it'll keep that hidden, and our 1.5 inches will be, like right there. So that we don't see that. So that should be good to go. So these frames are, like I say, universal. Once you get them built and these are to the face, then you just rivet the back side, forget the front side. And then once these are built, then you're going to go through and build all of these bad boys. All this is a bend and a bend. And then on the top, I think we kind of did this on the end and everything. It'll be a scribe, but it's dead center. And then you're just going to figure out how to get that and reverse bend it so the score is on the inside, but it's dead center. And then that way it'll just tuck in there nice, and it'll actually, the score mark will be on the inside. It'll look clean. And then all you got to do is burn it there. So obviously this is a little less than 90. So I went ahead and made some angle guides. There's going to be a couple of them, and that'll help you dial that in to make sure it's really good. And then the bottom, just to make it easier, I am doing it conventional. So if you clamp the one side, get it to the mark like we usually do, then that will shorten it up and it should fit just right. So this one, we're just going to keep doing it normally. And just on the top one here, just because we're splitting it down the middle. So we'll find whatever recipe works. Hence the reason why I want to get this tester done first. And I want to make sure these are dialed in for you. And then that way I can make sure that these are dialed in, and hence the whole kind of funkiness of that. So just want to make sure it's all done easy and proper for you cats. So once we get this dialed in though, it's bend, weld. Once you get these all welded, then you just start picking up these frames. Again, they're universal. Just make sure the face is to the face, riv nuts are to the back, and you're just going to lords these panels onto the frames. Then you're good to go. I mean, that pretty much is done. Then let's see, that's pretty much it. And then when you're going to go make the letters and all that, but that's pretty much it for that. Even though these are sort of universal, once you get these built, then when you look on the inside, you'll have the I, the O, the D, because obviously it has different mount points and you have different spots for your power to come through. So speaking of power come through, so then we're going to have the reverse glow in the actual chevron. So this is kind of going back to the eagle logo. So you have the frame, which is 5.5 inches, and then this is going to tuck inside. You can see here. So you'll have the 5.5 inch frame, and you'll have the 4-inch return, and then we're going to have this guy go around. So I broke it up into halves, both for nesting, even though it's not a great yield, but it's the best I could do other than making a whole bunch of little pieces. Didn't want to go down that road. Plus, if we ever do need to service this, it'll be a pain in the booty, but I think you still can get it out and slide it out and change some LEDs if you have to and slide it in without having to back all 6 nuts off here and then take the thing down. Didn't want to have to do that because, again, we're talking, you're in the road there. So we don't want to be shutting, these streets down to get a truck in there and have you work, especially here. Jackson, pretty busy street, so we don't want to be shutting that down. So the idea is to make it somewhat serviceable, hence the tiny little stubbies. Normally, I would give you a 4-inch deep, little nugget here, so that way it fits into the 4-inch return. But since we have to be able to slide it back out and it has to tuck within the 1.5 inches that's left, these are going to be 1 inch tall. So you're going to have to set your depth. So that means you're going to have to go old school, and you're going to have to get some little blocks and set yourself some little blocks there and set them up and around, and then set your depth. Then what you're going to do is make sure you do not put any screws on the inside, because obviously we can't access them. Plus it's kind of tough for you to drill. So you're just going to work your way around the outside of the 09 and set your screws just for the outside to make sure nothing goes anywhere. And then on your internals, kind of like we do with Zadig and all that, is just preset some tension and then make it nice and tight. So that way, so again, that'll allow us to be serviceable. So should anything goes wrong, you just pop these screws out, and they should be able to pop this out and slide it out. Also, when it comes time to wire these up, this is your potential area right here for power. So keep that in mind, and then make your leashes in this area, and then make your leashes long enough to extend through these 2 bottom holes here, which will be, right about here, and then have them pop through each of the corresponding holes here. So they'll be coming from, that's your frame, the blue line. So you'll have to come in through here and then just make it serviceable. Come through here. And then the whites on the letters will also be a leash. And then this will actually be the cover for that hole. So that'll be sort of a junction box. So the junction box will kind of be in here. So when the steel's ready, and I'm bringing in that 12 gauge wire, because we're going to have long runs. So it's going to come in through here, and you're going to have the 12 gauge wire and the 12 gauge wire. And then you're going to have to also do the math to see how many of these conjunction per leash. So you have to figure out, main run back to the vault. But I think you can probably get at least these 2 maybe, and like these 2, and maybe the bottom box and the bottom cabinet. Anyway, so you have to make sure that you have enough to have the leashes for the outer ring glow come in from there. And then you're going to bring in that 12 gauge through the hole here. And then also you're going to make the connection. So inside this frame, inside this little hole is going to be sort of your J box for the secondary. So again, that's all I'm saying, is just make these cables long enough to give yourself working leash. Plus, if they do service, they want to pop the screws, they can pull this out, and then this leash will give a little bit, have a little bit of room. But they obviously will have to, I guess unless they can splice it here and push it back in, but they probably will have to pop a face on these. Anyway, so just trying to kind of think ahead for servicing. Hopefully we don't have to do any of that. So I think you get the idea there. So no screw, just screws on the outside, no screws on the inside. Set your depth. These aren't going to be set. These aren't going to set your depth automatically. Get little blocks. You're all set. Make long leashes. So that's going to be the reverse channel. It's the same for all of them. And again, you don't really have to do anything here other than just, if that's another thing, you're going to have to decide, just this post is going to be coming in around 600 pounds. So whether or not, obviously we're still deciding or seeing if we can get somebody to do the holes for us. So if we can get the holes for us all laid out here, that'll be nice if all those holes can be drilled. But once this shows up on property, just the pole alone is going to be 600 pounds. And then we're going to decide whether we want to preload all these. I'm not sure if that'll be the best idea. So we'll have to see what's up with that. Whether or not you're going to be wiring this here in the shop, or this whole thing's going to be wired in the field. So anyway, but once you get these made, get all this leashed up and everything, then you're good to go. Meanwhile, you'll be making letters. So the letters are 6-inch deep, and we're just going to do rev channel style, but they're going to be regular channels, but weld the return on the face, on the backer, like we do, and clean it up, and everything's all good. Then you have your whites. That'll be sort of the enclosure / LEDs. So nothing kind of new there. You know what's up. And when it comes time to assemble, I've already got these clearance. You're just going to frap those right to, the matching corresponding chevron. Nice and neat. It's going to look sweet. Now, so when it comes to the vaults, we made these for the La Quinta Auto Center. They're a little bit smaller, but it's going to be kind of the same thing. So you can see here, we're going to dig into the medium somewhere behind here, the median, not the medium. We're going to dig into the median right here somewhere, and we're going to run those cables in, depending on how many cables, maybe 3 out, who knows. So depending on where they go, you can see where some of these might be a little bit challenging. Looks like they're going to have to dig some shrubbery or something, or maybe go back here and run it through. I don't know. So they're going to have to figure that out. But anyway, each of these gets a median vault box. So that's what we got here. It's all rivet. So you're just going to put these the bottom, the sides kind of start the party, and then you're going to do the outside guys here. They face with the flanges out. You can see there, and then that's going to make our kind of our collection boxes. So if you look at it from the top, you'll have the collection box area here on both sides, and then that'll be collection box area here. And then I made it universal, so depending on whichever side you want to put the switch, it is a modified switch box, but the switch will go inside and it'll face inwards. So you'll have to take the lid off to get to the switch, clickety click. But the switch will live, the back of the switch will live in one of the collection box areas. So just depending on which side they decide, primaries coming in and then secondaries going out. And then in the middle here is where your power supplies will live. I have enough for a 4-banger. I'm thinking maybe 3, maybe even 2. But I brought in, first choice is going to be the Sloan wet locations, the new principal Sloans. The GEs are damp, so I'd rather not use those, but I do have them punched for both. But these sort of squat, of size ones, we won't say fat. Those guys are for the Sloans. So again, that's the preferred. I went ahead and brought in a bunch, so be expecting those. And then that's kind of how it'll look. So basically, 1 inch or 2 above grade, you kind of backfill it, and then you can run your conduits out. That's kind of for install. And then it has these little cleats down here, so that way it won't come out easily. Backfill against these cleats. That's these guys here. So once these flaps are bent up, it'll help keep it in the ground. Nobody can just go over and pull it up without digging it out. And then it has a lid that allows for some venting, so that way the air can kind of escape. You have basically an 1/8 inch of air escape. Hopefully it'll keep bees out, but it'll still allow some airflow. And for you guys, go ahead and make some. I went ahead and put some number 10s there. So let's go ahead and make some bonding in both sides. Typical, maybe 2 or 3, just to make sure. And so depending on which side they bring in the primary, they can put the switch over there, wire it up, and keep it bonded and grounded. And then same thing here. You're just going to rivet on this little sidebar here, and that's going to be a supporter on both sides. That's just going to support this tray that is removable for these guys here. So that way you can take those out. But I'd still like to see some bonding on that, so that way they can bond it to the whole system. Make sure these are nice and long. That way everything stays grounded, stays bonded when they take it out, and keep you well happy. Keep Uncle Louie. So, but just kind of keep an eye on this. Some of the flanges face out. These flanges face in. I know sometimes I do flange out, but I didn't flange in on this one. So that way this seals up nice. And then this is flange out on the bottom. And then what you want to do is make sure, normally I'll put a drainage here, but I didn't want the drainage to actually backfill if the whole thing gets flooded. I wanted some waterproof. So let's go ahead and make sure we seal this really well. Seal this up really well. Make sure there's no way for water to get in, and go ahead and rivet it all together. But then go ahead and seal it up to where it's like water stays out, and it'll be nice and nice little tub there. So that's 5 of these guys. So that's all you need for that. Again, it should be straightforward there. Just a lot of riveting. Bring in rivets all day. So you got your letters, you've got your power vault, and the different chevrons. Oh, little guys down here. So these guys here, you're going to have your front jigs. We've made these before. It's going to be a front jig that holds it together, and then it's going to go long in the back, and then it's going to have this back piece that fits inside quite a bit up. So you can see where the back is going to fit in almost, I think it's almost like a 1/2 inch in. So then you can decide whether you're going to, so you can tack the front together with the jiggies, and then you can decide whether, I don't know which way you guys go, if you guys lords this or if you guys just tack it from the inside before you put the face on. It's up to you guys. And then, so these frames are, all 5 of these frames are universal until you stick a face on. Then they become location specific. So you have 3 downtowns, you have 1 midtown and 1 north. So install can worry about that. But as far as these little frames are concerned, the only thing is I do have a drain hole. So make sure the bottom gets to the bottom, but that'll only be when you put the face on. So make sure you kind of register the bottom and then put the face on the right way, lords the face on. You're going to have riv nuts out the back, 5/16, squish inside, and then that is going to be how they mount to the backer. And then when you're done, go ahead and give it a duck saw, chop these open and have a nice big opening there. And then that's going to let you put your pushies, and then these guys will fit in. And then it's going to be sealed up on the backside. I have room for number 10s. You're going to put the white on the outside. It's going to be like the backer. It's going to be a backer, and that'll have your LEDs. Now I went ahead and just made it universal. I know Midtown's a lot shorter and North Indio's longer, but I just make 5 of them the same. Just put your LEDs there. And then, like I say, I have clearance holes to clear the riv nuts, but you're just going to go ahead and frap some number 10s from the back. There's plenty of room inside this 1/2 inch. You got plenty of room for screws. Then it's just going to go on there. These are what actually holds the backer on. Don't worry about that. But you can see where these are 1.5 inch, 5/16, and that'll just suck up against from the back side. So that's the backer there. So you have your 5/16 to hold it on, and then this will be the mounting for install. And then you just bring the power in and make all your connections there. So that's a little downtown cabinet. Don't worry about this. This got changed. This is actually just the backer. There was these little cap things, but thankfully we got that changed for you guys. Don't worry about that. So anyway, so I think that's it. So I think you got the cabinets, good to go. Let's get these dialed in. If you can, let's get this INDIO thing. It doesn't even need to be fabbed. If you could just get this bent and then get this bent and get this bent and assemble it and look and see what's up, and then give me some feedback, and I will massage these quickly, and then I'll get those back to him to make sure that those, get all fixed. So, but anyway, so there's a lot of parts, there's a lot going on, but these aren't that crazy. Knocking on wood. So hopefully this will be like a little rest stop for you guys compared to all the other stuff you've been cranking on. So anyway, but I think that's it. So as usual, we're all counting on you. Good luck. Hit me up if you have any questions.
Check.